Welcome to Philosophy with Drez. For those of you that aren't familiar with me, I used to be an anonymous YouTuber that made videos and audios for people that were affected by Shrek 2, Madagascar, and anime a certain way. Now I've decided to focus on more serious subjects. Tonight's audio is just going to be an introduction. After tonight's audio, I will not be uploading any more audios for a few months for a couple of reasons. Number one is because starting next month, I'll be staying with a guardian that doesn't want me to become famous. And number two is because I also have a TikTok page called The Studio Executive, spelled capital T HE underscore capital S TUDIO underscore capital EXECUTIVE. It is promoting movies and shows that will inspire people and move them and lead them to better lifestyles in a way that doesn't require them to think about all these other things first. Expecting them to work, nor am I depending on them to. However, I do want to make sure that I know what people thought of the movies I recommended. That way I have an easier time writing audios that speak to my listeners. The point of this podcast will be to create a source of entertainment that's funny and relatable. I will start each audio by talking about things that I've heard and seen in real life. Most of them will be recent. As I keep talking, I will dive into the philosophical aspects of things. For example, in tonight's audio, I will talk about what got me here in the first place. I grew up in a small town, feeling different than most people. As I got older, I realized that I wasn't different, so I started socializing. I eventually created a YouTube channel that made videos and audios aimed at people who were affected by Shrek 2, Madagascar, and anime a certain way. But after I felt that I got those messages across, I decided to focus on subject matter that would be aimed at a larger variety of audiences. In tonight's audio, I'm going to talk about how to deal with someone who rationalizes everything. Now, I know what you're all thinking. What? But that's not good. Anytime there is a problem, it is because someone doesn't have common sense. Why are we even talking about people who rationalize things? Well, because people who do that are people too, and we all have to deal with them. So how do you get someone to stop rationalizing things? Is that even possible? Yes. Yes, it is. All you need to do is ask them why they are the way they are. Once you ask them the question, all you need to do is explain to them why they shouldn't think like that. If you want to ask other questions, such as, do you believe in God, or are you thinking about killing someone, you probably should for a number of different reasons. If the person you're talking to doesn't believe in God, there's still a good chance of being able to get them to change. I don't think I can say the same for someone who's thinking about killing someone. So, other than not believing in God or wanting to kill someone, why do people rationalize? Sometimes it's because traumatic events have led people to distance themselves from their emotional side and pay attention to just logic. Other times it's because they think it's their job to fix everyone else rather than take care of themselves. A third reason is because they're afraid to or don't know how to be themselves. And a fourth is because they know what it's like to get hurt by people that are too emotional and they want to make sure that it never happens again. So how would somebody distancing themselves from their emotional side and only paying attention to logic cause them to rationalize things? The answer is simple. They get so caught up on focusing on the thing itself that they don't pay attention to the way they react to it. So how does this behavior last? Part of it does last because of people being afraid to be themselves, but the other is that they're afraid to admit when they're wrong. So how come I didn't mention that earlier? Because being afraid to admit when they're wrong isn't why people rationalize things. It plays a part in them rationalizing, but it's not one of the reasons that people would rationalize things. So why would someone thinking that it's their job to fix everyone else rather than take care of themselves cause them to rationalize things? Once again, the answer is simple. It is because they don't want anyone to think that there aren't people that would rationalize. Why do people think that it's their job to fix everyone else rather than take care of themselves? A lot of the times, it's because children are born visual learners and parents raise them by just talking without actually explaining or modeling the behaviors that they want their children to pick up on. For example, parents often tell their kids not to worry about other people and to take care of themselves, but continuously do things that make the children feel like their parents are worrying about other people rather than taking care of themselves, leading the children to come up with their own definition of what it means to not worry about other people and take care of themselves. This ties into the third reason, which is being afraid or not knowing how to be themselves. 99.99, if not 100% of the time, when people are afraid or don't know how to be themselves, it is because of some sort of trauma. And sometimes it's not even the being themselves portion that they're afraid of. It's the fear of rejection, being misunderstood, or making someone else look bad. Being afraid to be yourself comes from trauma, and not knowing how comes from people telling themselves that they don't know how, their brain looking for proof that it's true, and not knowing how. This relates a lot to the fourth reason, which is knowing what it's like to get hurt by someone who's too emotional and wanting to make sure that it never happens again. A perfect example can be found in the book The Glass Castle. The dad probably would have gotten hurt because he couldn't have Shrek 2 as one of his favorites, but even then he wouldn't have gotten hurt because his son got molested. Well, thank you all so much for listening. I will talk to you all again on February 8th at 9 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. In the meantime, feel free to check out the movies and TV shows that I recommended on my TikTok page if you haven't already. In the meantime, have a haunted Halloween if you haven't already celebrated, a happy Thanksgiving, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year.